Zach Power grew up in the western United States, living in California, Arizona, Missouri, and Idaho before he was 20. He received his associates from Snow College in 2012 and a bachelor's in English from this fine university last year. He has been published in Inscape, BYU's creative writing magazine, and recently presented on the subject of substrate poetry at the Utah Academy of Science, Arts, and Letters in Salt Lake City. Zach's poetry is strange, ambitious, and challenging, and concerns itself with everything from post-jaded naivete to the paper it's printed on. In Domestic Meditations, a series of handwritten poems addressed to subjects like foreclosures, fatherhood, and anybody, he writes, "I'm sorry to say I can't say it straight," and signs them "Love Dad," with hesitation, water, and truly ramifications. He is currently an MFA candidate in poetry. Eccentric, kind, and without guile, he is also one of our best. Please welcome Zach.
Hi, everyone. I don't get nervous, but I did pass out once giving a sacrament talk, so I hope that doesn't happen here. And I really appreciate Courtney and Madeline's pieces. They were beautiful in very different ways. I felt such emotion. Can you guys hear me? Oh, do I need to? Okay, now we're good. All right. This first poem is untitled, and I like rivers, so I'm just going to start with that. When my mother asked my brother other ways to bother water, we together bashed the water with our water-beaten hands a-clapping, slapping brethren under water by the river slowly raging, like an infant crying softly, as a mother without water, weighing softly for a father, falling in a raging river laughing underwater. This second poem is titled Lacuna, and it's a collection of tiny letters to my mother. I think a lot of us like tiny things. This is kind of in that register. Lacuna. Dear Mom, when I gave birth to you, you cried like I did when you gave birth to me. Love, your faithful son. Dear Mom, before I gave birth to you, you sounded like a knocking on a melon, skull-bumped, tree-trunked, thumping acorn in my man-womb. Love, your solely son. Dear Mother, Sister left her number on my wrist, said call if Mother turns out to be stillborn. Love, your meticulous son. Dear Mom, before I gave birth to you, I washed you with my hands, kissed your neck, and told the ocean you would be a moon all your life. Love, your undulating son. Dear Mom, the night you were born, you kissed my neck, rubbed my airy womb, and tenderly sealed my hollowness. Love, your asphyxiate son. Dear Mom, when I gave birth to you, when I hear you cry from the womb covered in water, I water the garden. I ask the doula to make something cold. Your underson. Dear Mother, I've been your mother since we shared that milk in the kitchen, since that brazen serpent bit us both. Love, your Moses son. Dear Mother, Brother says he is your mother. I gave birth to you first. If you recall seeing my swelling, swollen mind, the birth canal we built together under the beetroots. Love, your real son. This next poem is titled Metaphysical Throat. We pray to God, but I wondered what it would be like to pray to one part of God. One piece of God. Metaphysical throat. I was gesturing ordinances underwater. I swam sacred strokes, left, left, holy, holy, my son in the river, dive, resurface, left, right, shore, shake. I confess, I left my son in the river. I regret my brother's teeth. I shouldn't have pulled each out so hard that night. My mother's tongue, shorter than sinews, thickless like tendons, unable to reach the neck. My wife's voice, she set it out in the sun to dry, but cracked, split, without blossom. O gullet of God, I have seen you roll Adam's apples, and from the silence sliding my ears crack. Ethereal esophagus, you understand thresholds, don't you? You understand threshing. When I pick up a Bible, I read a verse that said, Verily, verily, thou shalt leave thy son upon the brow of an ox, upon the shelf of a river, and he shall bow at the rising sun. I will follow the rocks. He shall not drown. This next poem, as a father, sometimes I find it difficult to answer children's questions, which are mystifying and wonderful in and of themselves. And this poem is titled Explanations Well Suited, and it comes out of that kind of effort or an imagination of that. Because the moon is, explanation well suited. Because the moon is held up in the sky by all the sleeping people's sleep. And if you don't go to bed, then I can't go to bed. And if I can't, then the moon won't have enough sleep to keep it up, and it will topple onto our house and crush your mother. And you love your mother, don't you? Because if we don't eat our food, then the tiny men that are holding onto our hairs will all let go, and your hair will just fall to the ground. Because the sound of you screaming also makes the front yard cringe. And last time your mother screamed when we were first married, the yard cringed right into the house and knocked out the front windows. And we had to play the piano for the window guy to fix our windows for weeks. Because the last time your mother and I were naked in the backyard, we were seized by something called intimacy, and we were stuck in each other's arms for days, until an arborist was cutting down the neighbor's trees and saved us from intimacy. And I'd hate for you to get stuck, so please put this diaper and clothes on. Because the cold that comes out of the freezer attracts a tribe of small women who will incessantly wash your hands until you have no hands, and then you can't open or close the freezer, and they slowly take control of the house, and you don't have hands and an open freezer that attracts more tribes of small women who will wash everything except the freezer, and like I said, keep the freezer closed. Because the tree doesn't like losing its branches, and the sun doesn't like it either, and once I wasn't paying attention, and the tree and sun ganged up on me and held my face against the sidewalk. Which is why I have all these spots on my cheek. Trust me, you don't want to get these spots because there was a group of businessmen in the city that saw my spots, and they bought all of them. But I couldn't give them to them, even though they marketed them as freckles. So I just stayed in the city and let them own the market, the spots, until I could buy them back. I believe this is the last one. Yes. This last one is called False Metaphors. What did Elise write on a poem the other day? She said, we become our metaphors or something. Yeah, I think so. Where are you, Elise? Anyways. And then Wallace Stephen, he said, metaphors are how we escape the cliche of reality. And we use metaphors all the time. Anytime you've used a chair as a ladder, you've used a metaphor. Because chairs are for sitting, not for climbing. Anyways, this one is titled False Metaphors. I am a painting on a wall that hangs with my hands behind my back. This is why people stand with their hands behind their back when they look at me. I am a chair that stands slightly under all sorts of tables, under all sorts of workspaces. Think about the time you were making cookies, and I stood underneath your arm and tasted the dough. My brain is like the snow. It falls in pieces I call words, in pieces you call snow. When I give a speech, I call it winter. You call it speech. There's no difference between the two. I am that piece of paper you crumpled up after class yesterday. For the first time ever, my back side felt my front side, and I actually have intricate viscera. My nose is a library. Each blackhead a bush, each hair a bookshelf, each particle of dust a novel. The mucus is a book club. The dried up skin is custodian. Walking home in the cold is a duck. There are speckles in the feathered sky, and I am an orange beak breaking through the water, searching for breadcrumbs. When summer comes, I walk north. Myself is an ecosystem. I've been standing in a swamp observing my childhood memory of rollerblading, which sits on a lily pad. I know that it will take the rollerblades off and hop in the water when it starts to rain. I have 3 dogs at home named Id, Ego, and Super Ego. When I take them on a walk, the only thing people want to know is how my day is going. I eat toast in the morning. This is a metaphor for how I like to eat bacon, eggs, and pancakes with maple syrup for breakfast. When the moon comes out, I think that the moon is a man curled up. I always wait for him to arch his back and stretch. I can never find my car keys. I can't uncook eggs. I am agog. There must be a metaphor there. Thank you.